Hey everybody, it's Ben, IDS, here with Soren.
The USCCA, Delta Defense.
Yeah, we're just here at the Vault in Meridian. Soren and I get together frequently. We have lunch, had a good lunch today. Ate at 8:30 Common again.
Right here in Meridian.
Solid place, right?
Great place.
Love. If you guys are local, if you haven't tried it, you should. We're at the Vault. You guys saw my last video. This is like one of our happy places we come.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
We talk shop a lot, right? We're sitting here at the Vault. We're going to be just kind of talking about some of the stuff that's important to us. Hopefully it's important to you guys too. If you've got questions, there's things that questions you have either from me, from the instructor's perspective, or what the USCCA does. Soren, we're going to jump into that a little bit. But if you guys have questions, shout out and we'll try to cover those for you. So Nick, I see you online from HoffTech, man. Dude, get your butt over here.
Hey,
Let's
Nick.
talk. We're counting you got the countdown timer. I know you're making a holster for me. So finish the holster, then run over. All right. So so one of the things that I've been thinking about, Soren, over the last couple years, but certainly in the last year or so, like the environment that we live in right now.
Yeah.
Right. So talk to me. What are your thoughts on that? Like the impact that the environment, and I'm talking environmentals, but I'm talking about like politically, socially, the things we're seeing in Portland, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 2021 was a big eye-opener for a lot of people that don't normally consider a lot of the preparation things that you help with your students or that the USCCA helps with their members. I think a lot of those issues really got shoved to the forefront. Between the protests and COVID, preparation comes in a lot of forms, and we saw that play out between the prepared and the unprepared across cities. Mm-hmm. And so I think one of the really cool things about that is that what it's done for the gun community. Yeah. We've had millions of first-time gun buyers. We've had thousands and thousands of new USCCA members every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
We'll talk about that a little bit, right? Why? But when I think about that, I think about what I see going on, and when the people that I talk to, and the reason why they're buying guns, why they're coming to get training, is because I think they're feeling more uncertain than they ever have. Yeah. Right. Even in Idaho, I think we live in an amazing place.
Agreed.
I think it's an anomaly for the country, like the type of safe community we have, and we have an amazing law enforcement community as well that takes great care of us. But I think I see a lot of people that are just nervous, they're uncertain, and they truly don't feel safe.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that 2020, and now it's continuing into 2021, kind of globally, but thank God we're here in America, where I think a lot of people realize that if stuff goes too far wrong, you really are going to have to depend on yourself.
It's you.
You got to take personal responsibility for your own self-defense, and the protection and the provision for your family. And if you're not the first guy, no one's coming to save us.
I'm just going to adjust this a little bit, make sure that people are seeing you enough. There we go. They see my ugly muffin enough. So I think you're right. I hear that, and that term comes to mind. You are your own 911, right? Yeah. Emergency happens, and now let's just take the worst case scenario. Most people that are training with firearms, they think like, I've got to protect my family from a deadly threat, right? But when you think about from a medical perspective, you think about like having enough food and water to survive. I think the toilet paper fiasco. Right? You couldn't even get toilet paper.
If you bought toilet paper in 2020 in a panic, you're not going to make it.
Yeah. Well, but I think, the good news is that was an eye-opener for folks, right?
Yeah, I think seeing those bare shelves or seeing how all of our supply lines are 1 week away from being totally shattered, I think, like I said, like you said, is just a huge eye-opener for people. So, and that's really where he comes in, is just even the Idaho community, we've seen surging with you here in the Valley, people getting training. Yep. Yeah. People finally seeking that out. They just needed a little nudge, and 2020 was a push, not a nudge. So,
you know what's interesting is because I think I get questions from folks just because as a firearms instructor. Like, I think some people are even still feel like unsure of what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing, and questioning sometimes their decision. Did I make the right decision with buying a firearm?
Yeah.
Right? And really trying to understand, like, could this really happen? Right?
yeah.
And guys, I'll tell you from I think I went dark there. Hold on a second. There, we're back. So, sorry, my display went dark, guys. So I think from a planning and preparedness perspective, I think you absolutely need to have at least 72 hours worth of food and stuff on hand, right? You need to have some basic medical training and some basic medical materials on hand, right? So you guys have seen it. I've dropped, I carry, and there's a kit sitting right next to us. I got a tourniquet on it and my Defender kit, or my breacher bag from ACT. So if you guys are looking, hit that link on my website. They've got some great med stuff, and it's really easy to attach to your gear. Like, even if you've got a backpack, attach it and you're good to go, right?
Yeah.
And then of course, there's the worst case scenario, right? So that scenario that everybody kind of trains for, or they think that's going to happen, that they would need to use a gun, right?
Yep.
And I often ask this question of, like, what is that training? Is
it still working for us?
I think it's still working for
us.
So as my wife likes to say, she says, your ego is not your amigo.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
There you go, honey, I'm giving you a plug.
And so for me, it's definitely, if something was threatening my family, of course, we're not even talking about running anymore. We're just talking about defending.
Right.
If I'm alone, those conditions change. And those are things that we have to think about as brand new gun owners. What are your lines that you will not allow to be crossed?
Roger.
And at the end of the day, unless you're totally crazy, I think that all of us would agree that a day that we have to use our gun in self-defense is going to be the worst day of our life, right? None of us want to harm someone like that, unless, of course, it was for a good cause. And defending our families is one of those causes that easily makes the list. I think we'd all agree with that. So
yeah. So let's talk about it, right? So there's one of the things I want you to think about is, what your priorities are, and how you structure your day when you're growing out in public. Because most people, when I talk about that scenario where they got to defend themselves with a gun, it's either in home or outdoors, right? So when you go out the door, what are you thinking? Like, are you switched on? Is your situational awareness there? Hopefully, if you guys understand the Cooper's colors, right? So your levels, like, are you at yellow, or hopefully you're not at orange for no reason, or red, right? So, but you certainly shouldn't be walking around in white, which is like, I'm in my zone. I got my phone in my hand, my head's down, not paying attention to what's going on around me.
It's so funny that he's bringing this up, because when we were eating lunch just moments ago, Ben's keeping watch for not only himself, for everyone else. There was a gentleman that was there with a car seat, right? Yeah, a car seat. So he's holding a baby, and he's standing in an alley looking at his phone with his baby on the ground, and a car rolls up to him and sits and parks for a solid 30 seconds.
Oh,
this guy has
like a minute or
something. Maybe a whole minute. 60 seconds. Imagine that much time passing by with a car right there, and you have no idea he's there. And Ben was nice enough to reach out and say, hey man, you got someone waiting on you right there. And he's, whoa, okay. And he didn't know that there was a running car with two people within 10 feet of him.
Yeah, no clue.
Waiting to get through the alley. So
and it wasn't one of those fancy hybrid cars that go silent either.
No.
Damn it. I hate those things.
And so that's really the importance of, even if you don't carry a gun,
totally,
just being aware of what's going on around you is going to help you avoid a situation where you might be a victim, for sure.
So and the really important part of this is, if you're aware, then you have the opportunity. If you can sense it, you detect it ahead of time. Sorry guys, we keep touching the camera because I'm doing this on my iPhone, so it's going dark. But if you can detect it, you can see it in advance, you have the opportunity to avoid it,
Yeah.
right? And avoidance, that's what we all want, right? That's what we should all want.
Yep.
Sorry guys, if you're listening to this, you're like, oh, I don't want to avoid it, I want to take that on. Shut the fuck up, right? I'm just going to tell you right now, put your bullshit macho bravado aside, because that's not going to happen, right? Because the day you do that, you're going to choose the wrong guy to do that when they're going to level your ass. So put the bullshit away, right? So if most responsible people, remember, we're good guys, right? And that's how we want to be portrayed, and that's kind of portrayed, right? We want to remember that that's who we are, and we have a responsibility to uphold that. So first thing is to avoid, and then it's if you find yourself in a situation that's going bad, then it's escape and evade, right?
Yep.
If you can run, and if you're by yourself and you have an exit, use it, right? If you're a good guy with a gun and you're the only good guy with a gun, maybe that's not an option, right? If you're called forward, right? If that's your calling and that's how you're wired as a sheepdog, maybe you're going to step up and bridge the gap so everybody else can get out, right?
Absolutely.
So you got to escape and evade, right? And the last thing you do is go to gun.
It's the last option,
right? So
when there is no other option. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So now let's say that scenario happens, worst case scenario. Where's the USCCA come into that?
Well, the USCCA comes into that because a lot of people, I'm going to go ahead and back up real quick. You mentioned that situational awareness and being aware buys you some time. And that's important because if we have a little bit more time, we can make better choices.
Amen.
And that time is invaluable. So the way the USCCA helps its members gain that time, gain comfortability, is that with USCCA membership, you have access to really all the things that you're teaching your students. You have
just
the ability.
Good, right?
Oh, it's nothing. There is no substitute for hands-on training.
It's actually really good material.
At the end of the day, there is no substitute for hands-on training. But things like situational awareness workshops and Ask an Attorney legal series, stuff like that. Drills of the month, so that when we do train, we're not just practicing punching holes in paper.
Right.
And so that's one of the huge benefits. And then most people that are brand new to the carrying a gun or owning one, they don't think about all the legal ramifications after you use it. I mean, if I were to be involved in an incident of self-defense, even if Ben was, as a firearms instructor, he's getting cuffs. Okay, that's just the way it is. They're going to ask some questions, and if he's not prepared for that, there could be some huge problems. So, at the end of the day, the USCCA helps provide that firearms education, like the gun laws, so that we're not breaking any laws while we're out here.
That's one of the things I really love about the app, because if I cross state lines, it's gonna know I've crossed state lines, right? Yep. And it's gonna let me know what the laws are for that state that I'm now in.
Yes, right? It's awesome. Very powerful tool there.
That is amazing.
You know, if it told the truth, it would tell you to turn around to California, guys. But it tells you the gun laws for every single state. And then of course there's supplementary education in there. So if you take a class with Ben and you are like, well, what did he mean by this? Or I remember he had that class with me. What was one more thing I should review? You might be able to find an instructional video in the USCCA's learning system that will help you review those things, which is so powerful to have that at the tip of your fingertips.
Yeah. Guys, I'm gonna come at it from a little bit different angle. I'm gonna say you got fire insurance for your house, but the likelihood of your house ever burning down is minuscule, right? But it's protect an asset and rebuild that asset if something goes wrong, right?
Yep.
So you're trying to build a life, for us, we had a conversation today at lunch, right? Talk about building a legacy for our families, right? So you're working hard to build, a nice life. You've got retirement, you've got your home and stuff like that. Last thing you ever want to encounter is that scenario where something goes bad and you've got, immediately $100,000 in legal bills.
Yeah.
Right? Just to try to defend what you've done as the right action, right?
Yep. And that's the other cool part about the USCCA is that when you sign up as a member, you're added as an additional insured to a self-defense liability policy that's been issued to the USCCA, which means you have help with attorney fees, you have help with civil lawsuit fees.
But let's pause right there. So is it help, or do I need to pay for it first, or do they pay for it?
Nope. You can pay for a membership annually or monthly, but if you're ever involved in an incident of self-defense, we write the checks. So
that's cool. So I don't need to come out of pocket.
It's not a reimbursement. There's no
public attorney.
No.
How does that work?
So we have a network of over 1,200 attorneys that are available to our members if they're ever involved in an incident of self-defense.
That's pretty cool.
That's just so powerful.
Yeah.
Because, guys, after a incident of self-defense, if you guys have to use your gun, that's not the time to be Googling,
Yeah.
best self-defense attorney near me, right? So that's not
No.
a good plan. And
You
so
probably won't even remember how to do that.
yeah, you're with your crocodile adrenaline brain going on. It's going to be hard to think clearly at all.
But you're not going to have a phone because you're going to be sitting somewhere in a controlled environment, more likely, right?
Yep. So that's truly the power. I mean, we dovetail with all these instructors and partners around the nation. And
hey, let me stop. Hey guys, if you're a firearms instructor and you're a firearms instructor in the Valley, man, I definitely recommend you give Soren a buzz, right? And get hooked up with them, right? It's a great asset to have. It's a great value add for your students, for yourself, right? They got some really great tools. Right?
I appreciate that.
I've really been. It's been awesome having you as a partner and just your perspective of what's happening in the community. Like I think I've got a pretty wide girth or reach, and got quite a few contacts and stuff like that. But the perspective that oftentimes you bring to it is amazing.
I love that. I appreciate that. So yeah, I mean, one of the craziest things, guys, is, and I had an instructor say it once, is just that the reason the USCCA is so powerful is because what a tragedy it would be to defend the most important things of in your life and then still lose everything afterwards.
Yeah.
And so that's really the power there.
That'd be a really bad day, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, Soren, well, it's been good chatting with you, buddy.
It has been. Thank you,
If you guys have any questions, reach out. Soren, Ben,
Yep.
IDS.
I appreciate it, guys.